Welcome to the Hump Day Hangout podcast by Semantic Mastery, where we answer your local SEO questions every week at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm Adam Moody, and my partner at Semantic Mastery, Bradley Benner, will be sharing his decades of expertise based on not only helping others, but running his own agencies and businesses in the space. If you'd like to join us live on YouTube each week, just go to www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. If you'd like to ask a question ahead of time, go to the same link, www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at any time and submit it there. Don't forget, you can get the Semantic Mastery Local SEO Toolkit for free at the same URL. Okay, let's get going with this episode. Welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 541. Today is the 9th of April, 2025. We are going to get into answering your local SEO questions, whether you're an agency owner, freelancer, business owner, whatever the case may be. And we're glad that if you're one here joining us live, you're here. And if you're checking out the replay, go ahead and subscribe, and just know that you can always go to semanticmastery.com/HDHO and either ask your questions ahead of time or join us live between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. Bradley was caught on the road a little bit today, so we are not going to have video, sadly, but Bradley is here, and we are going to start off, though, with saying hello to the guys, and then make sure everything technical is working correctly, and then we'll jump in after announcements and start answering questions. So, Chris, how are you doing today?
Been good. Happy to be here and glad we made it. Other than that, pretty busy as usual. And yeah, I had a nice spring walk, if you want to call it that way today. So enjoyed a bit of nature as well. So that's pretty much it on my end.
Nice. Yeah, it's been cold here, but we went from snow and 20-degree weather and high winds yesterday, and it was just above freezing today, but really sunny and nice. So went out for a run and enjoyed that. So Bradley, to finish up the weather report, how are things going with you?
It's good, man. I just finished a long stay at a Ford dealership getting some work done, and just got done like 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe before the webinar started. So I'm at a nearby Mexican restaurant and tethering through my phone with not the best bandwidth, so I can't use my video, but I made it happen, man. I'm here. We didn't miss it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, your audio sounds really good. So yeah, I don't have a ton of announcements. I guess, Bradley, just checking with you. You set up the redirect, so the page is working?
Yeah, I just got it done like 30 seconds ago.
Sweet. So I guess the tacos are good as well?
Yeah.
I haven't eaten yet. I'm going to eat as soon as I'm done. So I'm just having a frosty beverage right now.
Outstanding. Well, yeah, like I said, not a ton of announcements. Bradley, you're deep in the DHA phase 1 training, I guess. What week are you guys in?
This was week 8, so we got 4 weeks left.
Cool. So we'll be having some more information coming up about that, and I will post the link to the mastermind as well as a couple other things. But other than that, I guess we can just kind of jump into it and start answering questions.
Yeah, give me a second while I get this rearranged, and then we'll jump into it. I'm on my Chromebook, which makes it even more difficult to try to manage a webinar. So you guys have to bear with me. We got a lot of questions, though, which is really good. So I'd like to get through. You know what? I thought I had hidden some of those. Give me 1 second, guys. Like I said, I'm on a Chromebook, so just bear with me while I get this set up.
Sounds good. And I'll just say, yeah, if you're watching the replay, you can fast forward a little bit, or you can hang out and listen to me and maybe Chris chat about something. I don't know. Chris, what should we talk about that has absolutely nothing to do with local SEO?
I don't know, man. Been too deep in the trenches working on local SEO stuff. So I don't know what to say other than that.
I guess we could talk about schema software or something.
Yeah, like I've been also working on that end a bit. So like I've got quite a few things cooking. Thanks to Adam who started it. So yeah.
Cool. All right, Bradley, we got your screen.
All right, cool. Thank you for confirming. All right, guys. So let me go ahead and grab it. And you should be seeing the question screen now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I just had to take a drink of beer before I started. It's very rare that I actually get a chance to drink beer when I'm on a Hump Day Hangout, so I am going to take advantage of it. So, all right, guys, we're going to start with Huzaifa. He had a question that says, is it okay to add multiple LOG site properties to Search Console at the same time. Yeah, I thought I could have sworn I covered that last week, but yes, it's no problem. I've got no problem. I keep all of my LOG sites in the same Search Console account, which is the workspace account for the felling.pro domain. So, and then I also add, myself as a full user using my primary Google account, which is Bradley Benner at Gmail. So I can access it from, and TreeCare HQ as well, multiple other accounts, but the primary account, the primary owner where I originally submitted those LOG sites was via the workspace account for the felling.pro domain. So yeah, you can absolutely do that. It's not a problem. We're not doing anything spammy. So there's no reason you can't do that. If you're going to do something spammy, then you want to try to split it up and spread it out to where it's not in the same, everything in the same Search Console account. But I recommend you just don't do stuff spammy. So then you don't have to worry about it. So Alex's question, Snacky says, hey, Bradley, small update on Yext Power listings. I checked, and it looks like the featured message do follow link loophole has been closed on most of the listings with the no follow links. That's to be expected, Alex. It was probably 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago now that I had analyzed all that stuff. And back then it was roughly 60% at the time that were do follow links even on no follow directories, which I always thought was odd, but we certainly exploited that for some time. So I'm not surprised if it was closed. What kind of stuff happens? The next question is, hey, Bradley, if a website starts ranking with just tier 1 backlinks, 2.0s, and citations, do you still create G-stacks, press releases, batch geo, etc., to give it a solid foundation, or do you only add additional services as they are needed? No, one of the things that I think should be standard operating procedure, no matter how well the campaign is performing at the current moment, is to always build additional branded assets and to strengthen the brand. You can, if it's performing well in search, you don't need to continue building additional like tier 1 links and things like that. Because, I don't ever recommend taking your foot entirely off the gas, so to speak, because you want to constantly keep applying pressure to the campaign. But that said, typically if I have something that is performing well in search, then we still continue to build out branded assets as part of like the brand expander process, because it's something that we just continue to do over time. Thank you. And then we also include things like the Google stacks and all of that, or the G site at least, even if it's not a full stack. All of that stuff is standard operating procedure for what we set up at the start of a campaign. So that's all part of the brand builder process. In fact, give me 1 second, guys. I want to pull something up and pause the screen for just a moment. I can figure out how to do this on a Chromebook. I'm going to give you guys a quick preview of something that I developed for the local or for the mastermind members, but we are going to turn this into a product. So this will be coming out sometime. Right now I'm a little bit overwhelmed with some work, but we will be turning this into a product at some point soon. I'm not going to say when, because I don't know yet, but soon. Let me go ahead and start the screen share again. All right, so this is called the local SEO schedule, and I created this just to answer some questions for some people in the mastermind about the cadence or the sequence in which I do things for my own local SEO clients. And so, guys, you can take a screenshot of this, and again, we're going to turn this into a more kind of fleshed out product that's going to have timelines for when these things should be applied to the campaign and all of that kind of stuff. But it's going to take and we'll put it into like a training format and probably an SOP format as well. But here's an example of that. You'll see that I always start with all new campaigns with a full audit or a competitive link analysis, depending on whether it's an existing business or a new business. That is always the starting point, because I want to see what the current status of the campaign is, what the health of the campaign is, what their digital presence looks like across multiple places. Again, like I've talked about many times on these Hump Day Hangouts, there's 4 components to the full SEO audit. So if it's an existing business, I want to see, number one, what does Google understand about the local entity, that specific branded location? Then we look at the on-page analysis for the self-hosted site. Then we look at the on-page analysis for the GBP. And then we look at the off-page, which in the SEO audits is just the backlink analysis. Because if it's one of my own local SEO clients, we can also analyze the other half of the off-page analysis, which is engagement signals. For those of you that are wondering, well, how do you measure that? Well, you look at Google Business Insights, Search Console, and analytics data. And that's how you can determine what types of engagement the campaign is getting from map search, organic search, and overall website traffic via analytics. Okay, so if it's one of my own local SEO clients, if it's an existing business instead of a new business, then we're going to do a full SEO audit so that we can determine exactly what the health of the campaign is and where there are deficiencies that need to be addressed. If it is a brand new business or a business that really has no digital presence, it might be an established business but has little or to no digital presence, then we'll just go with the competitive link analysis because we still have to build all of the other assets, if that makes sense. But then we start the website structure, typically for my own local SEO clients. For tree care contractors, we're typically going to build them a new site because I won't work on their existing sites. If they want me to work on their existing sites, I don't, but I will consult with, I will provide instructions for their webmaster to then execute. I do not work on other people's websites. So unless we build it, we don't work on it. But then we go to brand builder or branded assets, depending on how well established the business is. But brand builder, which is, we have an SOP for that in the mastermind, but we also have done for you services. So we have a done for you service for brand builder and then also one for branded assets. What's the difference? Brand builder is a lot more robust than branded assets are. There's several more additional properties in the brand builder service and everything else. But basically why I brought that up was because it answers the question about, do we do Google stacks and all that? No, but one of the, well, we don't, when a project, a campaign, a local SEO campaign, when I first take on a local SEO campaign, like a tree care contractor, we're going to do this no matter what, if that makes sense. Because that, in my opinion, the two most important things in local search right now are brand authority for the specific branded location and site efficiency. Those two things, if you get those right, that's 80% of the battle right now. You could have deficiencies in some of the other problems. Like, and when I say site efficiency, that also includes proper site structure. That's why, again, this is number 2. You understand? You guys see what we're doing here. We are addressing the 2 items that I just described as the most important in local search right here in these first 3 bullet points of this local SEO schedule. Do you understand? First, we always analyze the campaign and what its current status is. That's what the first bullet point is. Number 2 is we start to engineer or develop, or in my industry, I already have the structure built. So we just deploy a new site for the client. Or if they want us to use their existing site, then I will then, through the audit, I will already have all the instructions for on-page optimization that then I will submit to their webmaster to have them execute. If that makes sense. But so we are addressing site efficiency in bullet 2, which is also proper structure. Just to be clear, when I say site efficiency, that is assuming that the structure is proper. Okay, and so if that, you have to kind of, when I say site efficiency, that includes proper site structure. Okay, and then we go right into building or strengthening the brand, the branded location. Right, this is brand strengthening. That's what this is. We're doing right here, and that's why we start with those 3 bullet points, because we need to know what the current status of the campaign is, how the website, what is the current structure and efficiency of the site, because most sites that I analyze or audit, not just for my own clients, but for white label clients, etc., they're terrible. They're horrible structure. They have awful, a huge amount of what's called crawl resistance. Thank you, Cecilia. She's the one that coined that term, as far as I know. But when I say crawl resistance, I mean they have excessive technical SEO errors, things like that Google frowns upon, and Google is punishing sites that are not efficient right now, in local search especially. I mean, that's pretty much all I work on anyway. So you see what we're doing is we're figuring out where the deficiencies are, but the first 2 points, no matter what, that we're going to address is website structure and efficiency, and then building brand authority, right? Depending on what the current strength of the branded location is. For those of you that are maybe questioning what I mean by branded location, well, remember, it could be a multi-location business. So there's overall brand strength, which is kind of location neutral. And then there's specific location, branded locations, right? Each branded location has its own separate knowledge graph. And so you want to try to develop that as fully as possible. And we can help Google to develop that knowledge graph in some of the things that we do. That's what Brand Builder is specifically for. is to help influence what Google understands about that particular branded location very, very quickly. Within 30 days, really want to say 6 weeks because Google's just so slow to pick up and index things right now. But when I first launched or developed the brand builder service, it was 30 days, and we could guarantee within 30 days that we'll take over a brand search in it for a brand search for the top 2 pages of the search results would be entirely populated with branded or supporting assets or external page URLs that are referencing that particular branded location. Now it's more like 6 weeks just because of Google being a little bit slower to crawl and index things. But in any case, that's always the starting point. So to answer the question that Alex had, all of those other foundational things are already going to be in place, period. Like full stop. Those are the first things that we put into place. Now, Brand Expander, which is one of the services or training programs that we have inside the Semantic Mastery, that also is continually building out branded profiles as well and interlinking them. And then once the profile is published, you want to place the profile URL in the ID page in the same as attributes, the schema, as well as to the G sheet that we embed into the ID page. And that way we're constantly adding new branded assets into the knowledge graph for that particular branded location. And that's something that I recommend that everybody does. That's why we kept Brand Expander very inexpensive. And we've specifically set it up, not for any principle of a company to execute, but that is something that a virtual assistant or data entry type of a employee should be doing. And we encourage people to subscribe to Brand Expander, which if you're in the mastermind, it's included. But if not, you can subscribe to that separately. It's very inexpensive. And then you just plug a VA into it. And you have your VAs execute that for every single client, if that's clear. And that's part of the reason, because again, the 2 most important things, in my opinion, in local search right now, brand authority, site efficiency, which includes proper structure. So hopefully that answers your question. We're going to move on to the next one. Huzaifa says, what would be the correct schema type for pest control sites? Is it home and construction business? It is. That is absolutely correct, Huzaifa. It's home and construction business. But before I confirm that entirely, give me 1 second. Let me pause the screen again for 1 moment. If I can get back to it. I can't remember. I'm trying to think. Let's see. It's God damn it. It used to be the Merkle SEO tools, and now it's changed to something else. Let's try this and see if we can get that to work. The name changed recently. I think this is it still. I was going to pull open a spreadsheet, but it looks like it's making me sign in Microsoft again, and I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Stand by for 1 minute. You guys are still seeing my screen, correct?
Correct.
I'll take that as a yes. Okay. Let's see. Schema generator right here. Yeah, this used to be called the Merkle tool, and now it's Dentsu. I don't know what that is, but you can check it here. You can just go down here, look at local business schema. Then from here, you're going to look at local business type. We're going to go to home and construction business, and then you can look at the subtypes. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a pest control in the subtype, and there's not. So yes, home and construction business is the most relevant for pest control. Okay, moving on. Because I've said, where did you get images for the directory listings from the GBPs? No, sometimes, yeah, but usually we just download them from their website. So whenever we get a positive reply from Gold Outreach for the directory process, then again, it's part of the lead processing SOP in the mastermind. So, and that's VA work, just like I mentioned, Brand Expander is VA work. It's the same thing with lead processing. I even tell the DHA members, I want you to go through the SOP and, optimize yourself 2 or 3 directory listings as leads come in. But after that, don't do it ever again. Like, you should never do it. You shouldn't have to. You should have a team member that does that for you, right? We're talking like, a VA, $6 or $7 an hour, or something like that, $8 an hour, something like that. Or you pay per listing. That's what I do. I pay my team per listing that they produce. I try to pay my team, everybody on my team, per task, not per hour. I've only got 2 team members that are hourly. Everybody else is on a per task basis. That gives them incentive to become more efficient, to optimize more listings, right? To just produce more work. They get to write their own paychecks depending upon how efficient they are, right? So anyway, in the lead processing SOP, it mentions that once we get a positive reply from a contractor and we start to optimize their listing, then we just go look at their website and their GBP both, because we're trying to identify deficiencies in their digital presence, which is how we tag them in high level so that I know which sequence to add them to and which products or services to promote when I'm on the listing delivery call with them, which is the start of the sales conversation, right? So sometimes most of the time we get the images from their website if they have it, and sometimes we'll get them from the GBP, okay? Next, Jeff says, are there any particular keyword modifiers that you track for your clients? Is there a benefit to tracking multiple variations like tree service near me, tree service city, and tree service? Yes, and that's exactly what I do, Jeff. Even like, for example, in all of my competitive link analysis reports that I do, even for white label clients, that is how I instruct them to submit their search queries. Like, pick your primary search query back up. So I always ask people when they're submitting a competitive link analysis report request or a full SEO audit to submit the 3 top search queries that are the most important to that client, that local business, okay? And then whatever those 3 search queries are, however they were submitted by the client, then I go add variants to them. So for example, if they were to submit 3 separate search queries for let's just say, to use your example, tree service. So let's say they did one for tree service plus city, and I'm in Pikeville right now, Kentucky. So let's just use that. So let's say one was tree service, Pikeville, one was tree trimming, Pikeville, and one was stump grinding, Pikeville. Okay. Then what I'm going to do when I go to create the competitive link analysis, well, I don't actually create the reports, my team does, but then when I go in to analyze the data, then I will go in and make the other 2 variants of each of those keywords, which is exactly what you've listed in your question. So I want the general keyword without a location modifier. I want the keyword plus the near me modifier. And then I want the keyword plus the city modifier. But if the client submits a city modifier for a city that the GBP is not actually located in, then I'm always going to add another version of the keyword with the city that the business is actually located in, because there's still a lot of SEOs out there that are probably telling their clients, oh yeah, we can get you ranked for search query plus a city that you're not located in, which is absolutely false. You could do it in organic, but it's not in maps, because the way that map search works now is that when you query Google for again, tree service plus a city name, like let's say Pikeville, that is asking Google to return companies that provide that service that are located in that city, not that serve that city. They're located in that city. That's a difference. It used to be where we could do that. We could rank a GBP into cities that it was nowhere near, if optimized properly and everything else. It's not like that anymore. It's very much about proximity. And so if the query contains a city modifier for a city that the GBP is not located in, it's not going to perform well there, no matter what you do. Like, now there's always outliers, right? There's always exceptions to that, very rural areas or where there's no competitors, then yeah, you can do that kind of stuff. But for the vast majority of local businesses, you can rank really well in map search for the keyword plus near me, and the keyword plus the city that the GBP is located in. But as soon as you start adding the keyword plus other cities the GBP is not located, maybe immediately adjacent cities you can rank in. But if you go like more than one city over, so where there's a city or town between where it's actually located and where the modifier is that they've appended to the query, it's not going to rank there, because that Google's going to return business. The query is asking Google to return businesses that are located in the city that was in the query, not that serve it. Again, we used to be able to manipulate how GBP would perform based upon the service area. Like, in other words, we would optimize the GBP profile to tell Google what areas that service area business served, and Google would, to a degree, honor that. Google doesn't honor that at all anymore. all that does when you define a service area in the GBP is it puts a red dotted line in the Google Business Profile map. That's all it does. It gives you it puts a dotted line around the area that you claimed was the service area. It has no bearing on the performance of the campaign, because Google's going to only display the GBP based upon proximity of the searcher and what the query is. And that's why the query with no location modifier or the query with a near me modifier, the GBP can rank, in nearby for those queries, and in the query plus the location modifier for the city that the GBP is in can rank really well across a huge area, because that is specifically asking Google to return businesses that are located in that area, not that serve it, but are located there. So to be clear, like I said, whenever I get any sort of analysis request and people submit keywords, whenever I add them to the rank trackers, organic rank trackers and local search grid trackers, I'm always going to add the variants of the search queries, because I want a holistic understanding of how those keywords are performing in search based upon their modifiers, right? And so, again, I think it's really important for you to understand that. So when again, if somebody was to submit tree service Pikeville, tree trimming Pikeville, and stump grinding Pikeville, then I would go in and add tree service near me, tree trimming near me, and stump grinding near me, and along with those other three that contain the Pikeville modifier. And then I want to have 9 keywords that I'm analyzing instead of just 3, because I want to see how the modifiers affect the performance of the campaign, right? So hopefully that's clear. Moving on. Jeff says, can you explain the process behind how you acquire blogs for the Semantic Links blog network? Do you create the blogs from scratch or buy existing blogs? Well, we create the blogs from scratch, but we're buying existing domains. Well, expired domains. Okay. So we have a whole training program in the mastermind specifically for it's literally the SOPs that I developed for my team on how to build the blogs and find a domain, go domain hunting. And that I used to love that process, domain hunting. I don't do that anymore because it's fully done by my team now. But there was a period of a time for probably at least a year, and maybe even a year and a half, where that's what I would do at night when I was like relaxing and watching TV or whatever. At night, I'd have my laptop, in my lap, and I would hunt domains. And I actually really enjoyed hunting for domains. I guess you can get burned out on that too, though, because I did it so long. Finally, I got some people trained in my team, and now I have I've got a full team that's all they do is hunt down domains. I swear to God, I got like a team of 5. It might even be 6 people. It's 5 or 6 people, and that's their entire job. 40 hours a week is literally hunting domains. So there's a whole process that we go through. I can't share that here. That wouldn't be fair to the mastermind members. But essentially what we do is we first, I use a website crawler called PBN Lab. Just so you guys know, you can go to pbnlab.com. And I've got 3 subscriptions to this because I try to separate what domains we are crawling by top level topic categories. And we have, so PBN Lab is what I use. We've got 3 of these. If you take a look at the monthly plans, what I've got is the this one, the EXA plan, because of how much crawling we do and the demand for domains that we have, because I run a link building business. So we've got 3 of these that run. One of these are always running to try to that are scraping business related sites. So as far as topical trust flow categories go, and that's the metric that we use to determine which domains that are expired that are available for registration are potentially good domains for us to use for link building purposes, is we scrape sites based upon their top level topical categories. So I have one subscription that's entirely dedicated to business. I got another subscription that's entirely dedicated to health, and another one that's entirely dedicated to legal. Okay. And so, because those are the 3 biggest market sectors that we build links for: business, which is very broad, health, which is also broad, but not as broad as business, and then legal, because we have an enormous amount of attorney clients. And so because of that, we try to separate the crawling so that when we are pulling in results, that then we go analyze the expired domains that this service or this app has found then we use the tropical trust flow filters, excuse me, and we can go in and set specific topical trust flow filters about the to only pull in potential domains that have the appropriate topical trust flow. In other words, the appropriate backlink profile that we need for that specific, for whatever demand it is or need that we have for the domain. So in other words, let me give you guys another example real quick. If we look at ttf.semanticlinks.io, any of you guys can go to this. This is just a page that I put up specifically for my team, and I also use this during audits and things like that, which shows the complete list of topical trust flow categories. So what I'm saying is, for example, you can see all the subcategories for the business category right here. Okay, the three big ones are business, society, because society is where law is, so society/law, and then we also have down here. I think I just passed it. Actually, no, it's further down. Is the health right here, health categories. And that's because we also have a lot of med spas and dentists and podiatrists and orthopedists and all that other kind of stuff. So we try to separate our PBN Lab subscriptions to pull in results from business-related sites, legal sites, and health-related sites. And then when we go in, we get a whole list of domains that it has scraped, that it's found, that are broken and are available for registration. And then I can go in and set a filter and say, okay, I only want to find domains that their primary topical trust flow category of the backlink profile that is pointing to that domain is in business, construction, and maintenance, for example, right? Or in the tree service industry, I would have, business, agriculture, and forestry, or home/gardening, or, anything like that. And so the point that I'm trying to make is that's how we do it, is we first identify potential expired domains that have the backlink profiles that are relevant in the topical categories for what we need them to be. Then once we've got that list of potential domains, then we go spam check each of those domains. And when I say spam check, we look at the backlink profile. We look at the anchor text cloud, which is really the first step that we do. Let me give you a quick example. If I had time, I would log into PBN Lab and show you guys the dashboard and everything else, but my databases are so full because I've been crawling for 3 years. We've scraped over 30 million domains in the last 3 years, and that's not a joke. So it takes forever for this to load because the database has got so much data in it. So I can't do that. But anyway, what I was going to say was in Majestic, let me just pull this open. I should have Majestic open still. Yeah, we'll just use this as an example. Tree Care HQ. Okay. So in Majestic, what we use to determine if the domain is clean, if it's proper, if it's healthy, if we can use it for link building. So once we've identified that the potential expired domain has the primary topical trust flow category relevant to what we need, then we've got now a list of potential domains. So then we go into Majestic, and the first thing we'll do is put the root domain in, and then we're going to go to the anchor text cloud. What I do here is I can very quickly look, based upon the words that are bigger, what the biggest words are the ones that are used as anchor text the most. The smaller the words, the less they were used. So I could very quickly look at this visually. I can see if the anchor texts that are pointing to this domain are relevant or not. I don't care if there's some non-relevance, that's fine. But what I want to see is the big words, are they relevant? And as long as the big words that are in this anchor text cloud are relevant to that topical category that we need it to be, then that's fine. Well, it passed the first test. But then the next test is to then go literally check archive.org. Archive.org, the Wayback Machine, right? And we do that in CloudBoss, because CloudBoss has an archive Wayback Machine integration that's built into CloudBoss, which is one of our hosting apps that we use for building these sites. Anyways, it has a service in there that actually pulls in all of the Wayback Machine archives in one fell swoop. So it makes it a lot faster and more efficient to click through the different archives. We always start with the most recent snapshots and look at what the site was. And a lot of the times expired domains will have snapshots where it's broken, or it's the parking page, the domain parking page, and things like that. So we oftentimes have to click through several different snapshots always starting with the most recent and working our way back, and try to identify the last time the site was live and on the web, it was published. What was the topic of the site? Because a lot of times you can pull up a domain like this and see that the backlink profile is relevant. It's got proper topical categories. The anchor texts are relevant. But then you go look at the Wayback Machine and somebody had purchased the domain and spammed it for an affiliate site or something else. And so even though the backlink profile is still relevant and clean, I don't want to buy a domain and then rebuild the domain, put content on it and everything else, when the last time that Google has any history of that domain, it was used as a spam site. So for example, if I looked at the anchor text cloud and I saw like buy Nike shoes real big in this anchor text cloud, then I would say, okay, this has been spammed. I'm not going to buy it. But all these are relevant to this domain. And we already saw that the topical categories were relevant. So the next thing would be then to then go take a look at that in the Wayback Machine and look at the most recent snapshot and work your way back and try to find a snapshot that shows what the site was about the last time it was published and indexed. And as long as that is in the same topical category or something closely related, then it's fine. Then that means that's an acceptable domain to purchase and use for a link building or link source. Okay. If the last time the site was published online, it was something completely unrelated to what the backlink profile shows, then we eliminate that from the list because that is no longer a candidate to be used as a link source. Okay. Because we're trying not to use domains that have been spammed by some sort, because that kind of resets the history, right? Google's been clear about this, guys. If you buy a domain that has, a history of being in a particular topical category, and the metrics and everything support that, and you repurpose that domain in the same topical category, that's acceptable, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's when you buy a domain based upon metrics, and then you change the topical categories entirely, and that's still a lot of SEOs do that because they look at DA and DR. I don't give a shit about those metrics. I couldn't care less about either of those metrics. I honest to God mean that. What I care about is relevance. And so as long as the domains are relevant and the last time it was published on the web, it was in the same category or something related, closely related, then I will use it. But it's when you change the topical categories of the domain, because that renders the backlinks irrelevant. Do you get that? You understand, if Google is assigning value to links based upon relevance, and you buy a domain because it has good third-party metrics in whatever relevant category those links were, but then you change the topical relevance of the domain, you've just made those backlinks irrelevant, meaning they're now useless. So there's no point in doing that. So that is precisely the process that we go through, again, is identifying based upon what the again, as I mentioned here, we do where is it? It's right here. We do a competitive link analysis or a full SEO audit. And by the way, a full SEO audit includes the competitive link analysis. That's the fourth component of the full SEO audit. So we do this at the start of every campaign anyway. And then, and for link building clients, competitive link analysis is included in all subscription campaigns, and we refresh and we refresh those reports. Basically, we redo the competitive link analysis reports every month for every client, for every single keyword that we are analyzing for them, because that's how we make decisions as to what the campaign needs for the next month. And so with my link building clients, because we have the competitive link analysis that is constantly updated every month, we always know exactly which topical categories we need links from. So we can go out and start hunting down domains specifically needed for that campaign. And that applies to links with or domains with geographic relevance as well. We use the exact same process for finding topical domains to find domains with geographic relevance. And both of those training courses, by the way, are in the mastermind right here. We have the semantic links, the CTRify, and we have local PBN command. Those are the two training courses that we have specifically that go through. I mean, those are SOPs. Well, these are training courses, not SOPs, but they're training courses that show the entire process. I'm 100% transparent about how I build links, guys, in our mastermind. And I even provide all the training so that you guys can duplicate the exact same process that I use. Okay. So that was an overview. Hopefully that makes sense. But basically, when we buy the domain, we then repopulate it with content in the same topical category. We're not rebuilding the domain. with the old content. I did that for a period of time when I first started the white label link building business. And it turned out to actually be harder to rebuild the sites using the old content. It's more efficient to build them new. And so what I found was, after testing, that as long as we are rebuilding the domains, or publishing a new site onto the domain that is in the same topical category as it was previously, then the backlinks remain valid. And therefore, that's how we're able to get really good results from those backlinks, if that makes sense. All right. Moving on. Sam says, what does the AI voice agent look like that books calls for your directory? I don't know. I've never seen him or her. I mean, how do you see a voice agent? I know, Sam, that's probably the way it was worded is probably not what you intended. I don't know what it looks like. I can tell you the company that I used, though, that developed it, it's still in development. They're constantly, because everything is changing so rapidly in the AI world, that they constantly keep redeveloping. It used to be called AnswerAI.us. They just recently branded to Booked In. So anyways, this is, you can see right there I am. But this is I've been using this company now. I've been with them for probably a year and a half. And I had them develop a few different agents for me, plus an answering service for tree contractors now, which is, god damn, that saved me so much money, guys. You have no idea. I've been using Answer Connect since 2014. I've been using Answer Connect as an answering service for all of my tree care contractors, and some of my own businesses too, by the way. I've used Answer Connect. These are live people that answer the phone, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap. It's been a great service. I've used it for 11 years now, but it's not an inexpensive service, especially when you get into having multiple accounts. I've got a bunch of sub accounts in here because I set these up for tree contractors and everything else, and it's very expensive. But I had AI Answer, or I guess now Booked In. They created an answering service. They just finished it like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And it's like about 20% the cost of what it is for this. No shit. So I've actually, I'll even show you. I've got it booked into my calendar for this Saturday right there. I'm actually going, and because it was just finished a couple of weeks ago. And so this Saturday, I'm going to spend 2 hours going through and transferring all of my own answering services that I have set up for lead gen assets and clients and everything else. I'm going to transfer all of it into Booked In instead, because that'll save me a ton of money. So, I mean, I'm not kidding. It's like I said, it's like 20% the cost of what I had been using. So anyway, there you go. I can't tell you what it looks like because I've never seen the AI agent, but they do have a dashboard. And this also, by the way, it integrates it with High Level, and they'll do they'll do the custom integrations and everything for you. It's not cheap. It's not cheap, but I didn't have the time to learn how to do all this on my own, so I decided to do it instead. So anyway, there you go. Next question. All right, Jason says, what's the best type of link to buy from semantic links for my directory? Probably topical links. Now, if you have particular locations, like areas where you've got a lot of interest or a lot of activity, things like that, then you can also use geographic links to link to like search results pages and things like that that are targeting, searching for companies in a specific area. Then you can also use geographic links for those. But for the most part, just topical links, right? So let me give you an example. We'll go to Tree Care HQ. So like if I wanted to say, like I said, I'm in Pikeville, Kentucky. I don't know if I have any listings in Kentucky. I'm curious. Hold on. Search for tree service near Pikeville. Let's see, Pikeville, Kentucky. And I don't know if I even have any listings here, but we'll see what happens. If not, we'll go to, that's fine. We'll go to, I know I got a bunch of listings in Virginia, so let's go there. That means that's going to be one of my next, that's going to be one of my next targeting options then, is I'm going to start targeting Tennessee or Kentucky, excuse me. I don't think I've ever targeted Kentucky for cold outreach for my directory. So I should do that now that I just bought a house in Plainfield. I close on it in like 12 days. So I should have a presence here for sure. Anyway, here's an example. This is a search results page. You can get rid of that stuff. No, actually, you need to leave that. But you can build geographic links to these types of pages, and that's going to boost those listings that show up in the search results for that location. Do you get what I'm saying? But for the most part, I just focus on topical links. So again, if we come back over here, you can see that, right? If we take a look at the backlink profile for treecarehq.com, which is my directory, look what we're focusing on. We're focusing on links with topical relevance mostly. There's going to always be links in there that aren't, the best links. That's normal, especially with the directory site, because other people will build links to your directory site. That's normal, right? You have an SEO company that submits their client's listing to the directory. And what do you think they're going to do when they get the listing URL? They're going to spam it. I mean, that's normal. It's a directory. You can't prevent other people from link spamming your directory. You can't prevent that. So there's nothing we can do about that. But look at the links with proper topical or higher trust flow values. Look at what they are. Those are all topical links. You see that? Every one of those, like you can see, those are all high authority or high trust flow links, with the majority of them being in relevant categories. Okay. But again, if you have specific areas or locations, cities or counties or regions or something like that that you want to target, then you can do a search. Then you've got the search URL, the search result URL for the directory that you can build links to with geographic links. But it's a combination of both geographic and topical links that you want to. I recommend focusing on topical links, because topical links are going to be relevant to all locations within the directory, because they're all in the same business category, right? Or closely related business categories. With geographic links, you got to be a lot more specific about what you're building links to, and only from link sources that are relevant to that location. So it's more efficient and easier to build topical links to a niche specific directory than it is to build geographic links. Now, if you were to build a general business directory that is isolated to a specific city, which I know a lot of people do that too. I don't. I think that's not an efficient way to run a business, but I know a lot of to run a marketing business, because you have to learn all of the different businesses that you are selling marketing services to, and I don't want to do that. It's too difficult. It's too much work involved. I'd rather just know one industry really well and expand by geography, as locations, as opposed to targeting one city and in dozens or hundreds of different businesses or business verticals, right? But if you were to have a city-specific directory, then you could focus with geographic links on that city-specific directory. And then you could build topical links to specific service categories on the directory site. So you'll see I've got 3 service categories on this directory site. By the way, the only reason why I have landscapers and excavators on this site is because some tree service contractors do landscaping and or excavating. That's the only reason why I have those there. So all I care to bring on are tree service clients. But sometimes they also do landscaping and or excavating. And so that is when I will bring them in. They want to make sure that their business is being represented properly. So I put those categories there to make sure that they were happy with their listings. Hopefully that's clear. Okay. I'm trying to boost authority so it shows up when people search for a prospect's business name, ideally alongside directories like MapQuest and Yelp, so mine looks more legit and gets taken seriously. Yeah, again, just focus mostly on topical links for that, and make sure that'll happen. It just takes time. It's going to take time to build authority to the directory, but once you have enough authority accrued, it'll start to show for search results for branded search queries. All right, Alex says, hey, Bradley, I noticed you have your review widget on some of your LOG sites. Have you noticed any improvements or drawbacks from having a live review widget on the site? I always see benefit, never any drawback from it. So if we have time, which I don't know that we will, because we only got 10 minutes left, but I was going to show you guys, because somebody was asking about the review service campaign for me to review that. So I was going to show that today, and I don't know if we're going to have time to do that today or not. But I was going to use Box Tree Care, which is one of my tree service clients. It's an example. But here, you'll see the widget pop up over here in just a minute. Right there, the Google widget. And I like that. This is just, I use, by the way, just so you guys know, I use Elf Site Apps. This is what I've been using for probably 4 years now, Elf Site Apps. So I use the Google review widget in Elf Site Apps. So that's what this is here. He didn't want it embedded, so I put the floating widget here, but they have all different widget types and display options, and you can modify what it shows and all different kinds of stuff. And that's why I like Elf Site Apps. Okay, so that's what I'm using for that. But what I like that because, number one, it helps to convert visitors when they see those. And number two, when you're using an app like that that has the proper schema markup, you'll see it in the search results. Let me give you an example. I'm going to do say tree care, Leander, Texas. And we'll see Box Tree Care is there, number one in maps. And then if we scroll down, there they are right there. And look at that. See that, guys? That's not something that I did with schema. I mean, it was done with schema, but it was done automatically by just having the review widget on the site. You see what I'm saying? So I've never seen any problem with doing it. So I prefer to do it. Sometimes I'll do the embedded, review block in the page, but this client wanted it floating, and so I made it floating for him. So anyway, hopefully that's clear. Go back. Next question. How do you handle zero-click searches? I'm struggling with my constant strategy as answers are provided more and more directly by Google or by AI. How are you adapting your SEO strategy to serve people into your funnel, into your sites? Well, depends on what you're asking about, Bert. For local SEO, it's still very much driven by maps, right? So ranking well, look, I've been generating leads for tree service contractors since 2014, right? So 11 years now. And I've tracked where the leads came from because I've managed Google Ads for many clients. I've also run Google Ads for my own lead gen business to generate leads for tree contractors, and also organic search. And so I've tracked that over the years, and it has remained mostly consistent over those years. There's always fluctuations, but it's usually 70% of leads that are generated come through maps, like in other words, the maps pack in local search. So even if it's google.com, which is universal search, which, by the way, let me explain what I mean. Let's go back to you understand, guys, google.com is universal search because it combines all these different search engines into one. That's why google.com is universal search. There's map search, which is separate, image search, shopping search, short videos, forums, videos. You also have news, web, books. Those are all different search engines. Google.com is it's all of them combined. So that's why I called it universal search, right? And so in universal search, by the way, you guys understand this is not Google Maps. This is influenced by Google Maps, but this is local finder. And interestingly enough, let me see if I can do this. I would love to show this to you guys. I don't know if I brought the Bright Local. Yeah, I did, because we're going to cover this. I forgot that I brought this up. Let's take a look at the organic rank tracker. I'm going to demonstrate here something to you guys. The difference between local finder and Google Maps search is what Google is tracking and displaying in the search results. Okay, so this is an example. If we come over here and we take a look at local finder, what is the URL that it is showing in local finder as ranking for the specific search query? That's a website URL. You guys see that, right? I'm hoping the pop-up is showing up in the screen video or the screen grab or whatever, but screen share, that's what I meant to say. But you see how every single one of those links that are showing up in local finder are website links. They're not maps profiles, right? All right, so let's go take a look at the local search grid. Because this is map search. Local finder is influenced by maps, but it's not the same as map search. Map search shows Google business profiles ranking, not websites. All right. Before everybody says, well, dude, your SEO sucks. No, I just expanded the map area to twice the size because he wants to cover a larger area. So that's why it looks like it dropped rankings. That's not the case. I just expanded the map size. But in any case, let me go here and we'll just look at Tree Care Leander. And what do you see here, guys? Like if we click on any one of these here, we'll just click on Box Tree Care because this is the one we're looking at. But when I look at what you'll see it in the bottom left corner when I hover over it. What is that? That's the CID map URL. You get the difference? Local Finder is showing how websites are ranking in map search. So it's essentially, it shows the Google business profile in Local Finder, but it's based upon the websites, the URLs, not the GBP, right? But map search is based upon GBP. That's why if we click on this, it's going to open up the map. You'll see it's first the CID, but then once the page loads, it unfurls to that long, ugly URL. So that's the difference between the two. So anyways, back to what I was saying about this question was with local search, again, I've monitored this for years and it fluctuates, but it's on average, it's roughly 70% of leads come through maps or the maps pack in universal search, okay? About 10%, only about 10% have come through Google Ads, although local service ads, so the guaranteed Google service ads, those have kind of eaten into that a bit. That's taking a larger percentage. But then historically, about 20% were coming from organic search, so below maps. Now, again, AI has affected that a bit. So the generative searches or the zero click searches, et cetera, that has affected it a bit, but not significantly yet because the vast majority of leads are still coming through maps or the maps pack in universal search. So hopefully that's clear. But if you were asking about how do we get people into our funnel for like semantic mastery, which is not a local SEO, like in other words, those aren't local queries. They're, email, social media, paid ads, everything else, right? But for local, I found that it's not, because by the way, a lot of those those like AI answers or summaries that show up at the top of the search results, you'll see sometimes that will pop in and out. In other words, if you perform the same search query multiple times over the course of a few days, you'll see sometimes the AI summary will be there, sometimes it won't. So it's still, I think, being tested, not fully rolled out. But again, with local, so far, there's not a whole lot that we can do except for example, with the next question from Joe, Bert, this is a good follow-up question. As you mentioned a few weeks back that you were looking to optimizing for ChatGPT results. Any updates on this? Well, no, not yet, because I'm still working through the process. This is Peter Drew's, which I think actually opens later today. He had it closed for a few weeks. Excuse me. rbagent.biz. Sorry, guys. This is the tool that I'm using in the process to try to influence large language models, not just ChatGPT, but all of them. Okay. And this is Peter Drew's product, which comes with the training, and everything else, but it's called RankBridge. And I bought into this, I don't know, 3 weeks ago now, maybe a month ago. There's a lot that goes into this, but it's about pumping out and feeding into the large language models an enormous amount of content that just basically, it just keeps telling the large language models what you want them to understand about the thing or the business or whatever it is that you're trying to feed into the large language model. And if you repeat it enough, and these were Peter Drew's words, and I love it, but he says, the AI engines or the large language models have no discernment. In other words, if they see enough content out there that says that, an apple is blue, then they'll repeat that. Even though apples are going to be green or red or whatever, they're not, apples aren't blue, right? If you say it enough times, the large language models will repeat it because they have no discernment for fact checking or anything else. And so the rbagent.biz is Peter's training plus the software that helps to facilitate the production and feeding of massive amounts of content into the large language models across many different platforms in many different formats, so that the large language models start to think that, well, that must be true because of all the content out there that promotes it, that is supporting it, that reinforces or validates it, corroborates it, right? And so that's essentially what we're doing. And it's a tedious process, and I'm developing an SOP for this because I'm not even through the setting this up and executing it fully for one campaign. By the way, I'm using TreeCare HQ as my test site, my test project. But I'm developing an SOP because I don't want to keep doing this. It's super tedious. I can see the value of it, but it's super tedious. It's not something that I want to do. So I'm developing an SOP as I'm going through this process, and it's been very, very long. And so anyways, at some point I will have this developed, and I'm going to go through it a second time and do it for Semantic Mastery. And then I will polish the SOP during that time. And then after I've done it twice, I hope to never have to do it again because I'll have a team member train for it instead. So, okay, guys, unfortunately we are out of time. And since I am not at my home and I'm at a restaurant, trying not to be loud, I'm going to hide the rest of these. And we'll pick back up on these questions next week, guys, because I do know that somebody asked me to go through the review service right here. And I really do want to go through that, but we just didn't have time today. So I'm going to highlight this one, and we'll pick back up on this next week. Adam, if you're still here, is there anything that I need to cover?
No, I'm looking. We had somebody who said they submitted a question, but they don't see it. It was from Eric. Is there an Eric listed on there?
The only way I could...
Nah, don't worry about it. So, Eric, if you're still watching, what I would say is if you can tomorrow add the question or send an email to support@semanticmastery.com. We want to make sure it doesn't get lost. And if one or both of those, and we'll definitely answer it next week.
Yeah, and I apologize. I couldn't get to all of them today, guys, but I tried my best. So, all right. Awesome. So nothing else that I have to address right now?
Nope. Looks like you answered Jeff's questions, and okay, yeah, we're good.
All right, guys. Well, thanks everybody for putting up with me when I'm trying to talk quietly in the restaurant. So appreciate you guys, and we'll see everybody next week. Thanks, Adam.
See ya. Bye, everyone.